Yellow, people of the internet. Okay, I know this is a heavy subject for many people, so I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea and think that I'm making it because I'm depressed or anything like that. I do plan to try and live a long life. I just thought it would be a useful exercise to talk in detail about exactly what I'd like to have happen after I die, as I think it can help put into focus how I want to live my life and what kind of world I want to build, and finally encourage others to think in this way also. So yeah, big scary title, My Last Will and Testament. I'll start off by explaining my 4 main wishes, and then I'll explain what got me thinking about this, and there'll be time codes in the description if you want to jump around. So firstly, if possible, I want to be an organ donor, and I want to offer my body for medical students to poke around and get skilled up till their heart's content. Secondly, I want to share out some amount of money to any family and friends who are poverty stricken, and for what's left to be donated to whatever political campaign organisation or charity that the person I've chosen and trusted to be the executive in my will knows that I will value most. So today it would be the charity Rewilding Britain. And thirdly, at my funeral, I don't want there to be any religious people there in an official capacity. And finally, I would like to be buried at a green burial site on land acquired specifically for restoring dense wildlife habitat. To emphasise the importance of this desire, under an ideal legal situation, I would desire that my body be carried to a beautiful location where large predators like wolves exist, and that my body be left as a donation of energy to larger animals that could benefit from it most, as smaller animals like worms and flies can get by on almost anything, like rotting veg just fine. So what got me thinking about this is I know that in holding rare desires like this, I dumbfound even some vegans, and that some vegans might desire that I keep quiet about stuff like this so as not to muddy the name of veganism with eccentric desires. But I do think we should make room for lots of different people with niche interests to be loud and attract attention to vegan politics in their own unique way, so long as the person isn't saying you must hold this niche interest in order to call yourself vegan. It's a really crucial difference between an actually effective Big Tent vegan political alliance and a fractured group of purist vegans all defining veganism in their own way and saying you must also define your own veganism in this way. So this leads to the Freegan Debate. Now, my ideal desire to have my body be used as a resource for wild animals in this way extends to seeing it as an entirely positive practice for humans to use dead animals they find in the wild, and even dead animals that were unjustifiably killed by other people, so long as you don't help perpetuate the cycle of killing. Issues like this one and countless others, like whether vegans should date non-vegans, get to the heart of a debate over what vegans' philosophical foundation and central focus should be. For instance, one objection some vegans raise is that people who use secondhand leather are free riding on the bad actions of others. But this often stems from a misunderstanding about what philosophical foundation the other person is using. For instance, I would never claim that the reason it's a character vice for people to buy animal products is because all use of animal bodies is wrong. So I'm not free riding on a less bad use of an animal after someone has already made the greater sin of paying to keep the cycle going of animals being killed to be sold. I simply think sometimes using animal bodies after they're dead can be an entirely positive character virtue, like finding a deer killed along the road and learning to turn its hide into clothing. Another objection is that we wouldn't use a human body for leather after they're dead, so we're unreasonably devaluing non-human animal life by viewing them with less dignity. But non-human animals don't experience a worse quality of life, worrying about what's going to happen to them after they're dead. Humans do as a species norm. And I understand the desire to hold on to this like cultural capital. So even for babies and the mentally disabled, it's reasonable to project onto them this cultural norm of desiring to relate to them as people who, if they had grown up or not had a mental disability, that they would likely have a desire for what happened to them after they're dead. But with other animals, I think we would likely be perpetuating an entirely toxic relationship to project onto them this cultural norm. Firstly, because the most common way I see this intuition play out is among vegans who had a pet as a child and would like to consider every domesticated animal a kind of citizen of their own community, who they would like to extend funerary rights to. But I think this intuition precisely comes from liking the way we've, for example, bred infantile traits into some dogs to relate to them as more as infinite humans. So it's buying into the delusion you desire to be created. You imagine that they could have grown up to be people, to be human people who could suffer a worse quality of life, worrying about how other people might intend to treat their body after their death. So I think it's more respectful to think of domesticated animals like their wild ancestors, where it would be normal for other animals to use them after they're dead, like eating them or whatever. And the second way I see this intuition play out is where the person would have liked to think of animals as existing in ecosystems that are almost entirely cut off from us, where they live, die, and get broken down without interference from us at all, whilst we pursue challenges entirely separate from them. But as well as joining campaign groups working towards restoring dense wildlife habitat, I simply think it's a positive to maximise the use value of natural resources in ways that don't have a long-term negative impact on the ecosystem, whether that be finding thatching for roofs or skinning a dead deer on a hike and leaving the flesh for scavengers. These are skills that positively teach us how to achieve a task, like how to make a set of shoes using the minimum viable technology necessary to do it. So gaining a whole set of whole host of skill sets that can be rewarding for like a child to grow up learning to do. So again, abstaining from pursuing tasks like this would, in my view, be relating to the animal with much less dignity than you could show by putting the animal's body to use in the value of the happy flourishing you could be achieving in your community. So yeah, that's everything. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comment down below and like and subscribe. Cheers!